Ladies and gentlemen, today we're very glad to have in our program former Assemblywoman Elaine Kontominas Alquist, a good friend of the program. In fact, Elaine was part of our program interviewing young Greek artists. You may remember those interviews a couple of years ago. Elaine, welcome to our program.
Thank you, Dimitri.
And thank you for all the support you have given to Greek TV in the past few years.
Happy to do it. A very worthwhile cause. Of
course, most of our viewers know who you are, but for the few that do not know, you may want to talk to them. And
thank you, Dimitri. It's a pleasure, as always, to be here with you. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of Greek TV and what you accomplish for our community, and I really appreciate it. Ευχαριστώ. I'm Elaine Alquist, Elaine Kontominas Alquist, the daughter of a Greek immigrant, and very blessed to be raised in the kind of family that I was raised in, a family that emphasized strong values and working hard and getting a good education. And I saw what my parents did, and they worked very hard, and so that became ingrained in me as a human being. Just to jump forward a lot, I served on the Cupertino School Board for 8 years, 2 years as board president. I served on that board here in Santa Clara County from 1983 through 1991. And then after that, I was selected to serve on the California Post-Secondary Education Commission, where I learned a little more about higher ed, although I had been a college trustee even in my mid-20s. And then in 1996, I was elected to the California State Legislature, the first Greek-American woman to be elected to the legislature, where I served in the Assembly from the end of 1996 through the end of 2002. And now I'm a candidate for State Senate.
Great. You mentioned a little bit about your family and the values. Tell us a little bit about your Greek background, your father and mother, immigrants, or their parents were immigrants. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my father was a Greek immigrant, Peter George Kontominas, Peter Michael Kontominas. And he was born in 1906, and he came to America in 1922 when he was 16 years old. He had been the oldest in his family. His mother was widowed early, and his father died of the black lung disease. His father had been a miner, mined diamonds and other things, worked in the mines and developed the black lung disease. So my father was the oldest of four. As a young teenager, when his father died, it was left to my father to help the family. And so when my dad was 16 years old, which was in 1922, he migrated to America and went to work for his uncle. His uncle had a restaurant in New York City, and so he did that. On my mother's side, my mother's parents came from Greece, and my mother was born in 1908. Within the year after they migrated, her parents migrated from Greece. And between the two families, on my mother's side, they came from Santorini, and then also from St. Nicholas. I know there are lots of St. Nicholases in Greece, but from the St. Nicholas that's near the southeast tip of the Peloponnesus. So her family came from those two areas. And then on my father's side, they came from Neapolis on the southeast tip of the Peloponnesus, and then
Laconia.
also Laconia, and then also from Crete. And so when I was born in 1944, I learned Greek and English at the same time, and I was the oldest in my family, and my parents were older when they had me, and
you did participate in the activities of the Greek community.
I fully participated in the activities. I mean, they sent me, I grew up in the St. Nicholas Church in St. Louis. I was born in Chicago, but when I was a year old, we we moved to St. Louis so that my mother could be near her mother and so that I would have a yaya. And so I fully participated. I was in Greek school. I was a HEPA queen in St. Louis when I was 17 years old.
We saw the picture. Tell us about it.
Oh, it was quite exciting. There was a large Greek community in St. Louis, and it was quite an honor. They had an event. In fact, I'm sure they still have it every June, and they would have a queen and a court. And I know the year that I was queen, there were 2,000 people. This was in 1962. There were 2,000 people who came to the event. And the way you're selected queen, I think, has a lot to do with your family. My mother was actually Woman of the Year for the Greek community one year. She had been Philoptochos president. My father had been on the church board. And so they had done a great deal. I mean, obviously I made good grades and was a good student and had wonderful goals and dreams, but I think a large reason why I was chosen queen, and it was secret ballot, it was a big deal in St. Louis, and I'll never forget my mother picking me up from school one day and saying, "This is a big secret, Elaine, but you have been chosen to be, you know, a HEPA queen."
Were you excited?
Oh, I was really excited, and there had been some other people who were on the list, and they had said queen only. And they only wanted to be queen, but I did not. My family and I never looked at life that way, and I didn't even know my name had been submitted, but my parents would have never just said, you know, queen only.
So it was an enjoyable experience in the Greek community.
It was a wonderful experience. I've always said I love being Greek, the culture, the religion, the music, the dance, the everything about it. I have always really appreciated.
Well, you mentioned dance. I've seen you dance in Greek, and you dance real good.
Thank you. Well, ever since, you know, in the Greek church, they would have, you know, Sunday evening and afternoon events, and I would just tag on the end of the long line.
And follow.
I'd be the last one. I'd be a little girl, and I'd follow. But, you know, you do that long enough.
And then you graduate. You get in the middle of the lane, and pretty soon you lead the lane.
Right.
The line.
And now that I'm a yaya, which is Greek for grandmother, for anyone who's not Greek, I take Jasmine, and I hold her in my arms, and we dance around.
That's great.
So she's going to learn to dance Greek, too.
That's great.
I should say also that my father was always in the tavern and bar and grill business. And it was a very hard life. He worked very hard, and for many years my mother worked part-time also there.
Did you help him a little bit in this business?
Well, he was very careful to see that I grew up in what he considered a normal life, but certainly I spent time down there, not really as much in a working capacity because they were mainly taverns and bars and grills. But there were many times, I mean, being in his tavern or bar and grill was almost like a second home to me because that's where my mother and I would go. In fact, Tina Turner played at his cocktail lounge in the early 1960s, and I found out about it after the fact from a neighbor named Sam Lombrinos, who was down there that night. He said, "Hey, Elaine, you didn't know, but where were you?" He said, "Tina Turner played." And I said, "I didn't even know about it." And then I figured it out more and realized that night my mother was the temporary bouncer. And so I was home babysitting my little brother.
Now move a little forward. Let's come to your political career and your 3-term in the California Assembly.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what you feel you have accomplished and why.
Okay. First of all, I would like to say that I was, and I would always say this to people when I spoke, I was most honored to be elected to the California legislature. I mean, democracy really began in ancient Greece, and I was always very serious in my view that this was a very responsible position. I served for the maximum allowed by law. We have term limits in California, and in the Assembly, it is 6 years. It is 3 two-year terms. So I was elected, actually I went through 3 primaries and 3 generals. I actually went through 6 different elections. And I worked on a lot of different issues. I think my main areas of interest, or should I say my main areas of really focusing, were really in the areas of education and healthcare and seniors, and then also government oversight. By that I mean to see that the government was not wasteful with its money. And so some of the things that I worked on, for example, in education, I served both on the K-12 committee all 6 years, and I also chaired the higher education committee for everything after high school, universities, colleges for 2 years. And I worked to see that we had credentialed teachers. I worked to see that we had good funding for education. Example, I'm a former high school math teacher and a former guidance counselor. I have a bachelor's degree in math and a master's degree in guidance and counseling. So I had 50 bills signed into law, and one of the 50 bills was $300,000 for teacher training in mathematics for teachers who teach middle school mathematics, because if you look at the scores our children make in mathematics, it's very obvious to me that they need to do well in middle school and junior high school. And to do that, they need teachers who are trained in this area. And I worked hard to see that parents, because I'm a parent and I'm a grandparent, I'm a yaya, I worked hard to see that parents would be very involved in their children's education. And certainly, I think my bottom line goal was to see that every single child in California got the very best education possible, that all children got a good education. In healthcare, I did a lot in the area for seniors. And perhaps it's because my dad was born in 1906, my husband in 1908, my mother in 1912. But as an example, I passed legislation for the statewide osteoporosis prevention program, because a lot of people, mainly women, but some men too, develop osteoporosis. And people really die from it if they fall and really have a severe break, and particularly if they're elderly. I was very honored when the statewide Alzheimer's Association about 2-3 years ago named their first legislator of the year. And they said to me that, they said, Elaine, this is our first ever award statewide. And although there are 120 people in the California legislature, 80 in the Assembly and 40 in the State Senate, they said to me, out of all 120 members, we have chosen you because of all the work that you have done for seniors.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And another area, I do a lot in the area of government oversight. I chaired Information Technology Committee my first 2 years, Aging and Long-Term Care my 3rd year, 4th year, and then Higher Ed my 5th year and 6th year. And as a legislator, you're the people's representative. You are there to fight for people. And government itself doesn't always do the best thing and doesn't always do good things. But it's government's role to do good things, and so I'm there to fight for people. And a lot of times that meant holding hearings to see why government spent millions of dollars, for example, on the statewide automated child support system. I held 13 hearings before we got that contract broken, because the state was not doing its part in collecting child support money to give to children who needed it.
Now you are running for the State Senate.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us why, and a little bit about what you would like to achieve as soon as you get into the Senate floor.
Okay. I'm Dimitri, I'm running for State Senate because I believe in democracy, and because I believe we need really good people in the California state legislature who will stand up for people and pass good laws. We need to see that all of our children get a good education in terms of K-12. When it comes to higher education, you know how important it is to anybody who's either a Greek or a Greek American. And I would say to the larger community, we all want to see that all of our children and grandchildren have that opportunity to go to college. And so I have done a great deal in the area of higher education as well as the K-12 end. and I've done a great deal for seniors, but example, in the area of health care and seniors, you and I know that there is a great deal yet to be accomplished to see that California is a good place to grow old, that we all have resources, that people are treated fairly, and that when you work hard, that you can earn money and that you're able to keep it. I mean, because as you know, it's important to work hard. And it's also important to see that when you work hard, you have something to show for it, that you have a good quality of life for your family. And I think that's what we all want. We want to see that we have a good life and that our children and those and our grandchildren have the same thing. And I believe that I have some good skills and experience to help the state. And I know that I've always been a fighter for people, and I know that a lot of people want me to be back up there in the state senate to fight for what is right.
We will definitely support you. Our viewers will support you, the whole community. Tell us how. Give us some idea. How can we support you besides voting for you?
Well, for those who live in the 13th Senate District in Santa Clara County, I would really appreciate your votes on March 2nd. That will be key because it will be the political fight of my life. And so it's nice to have nice thoughts about me, but people really need to get out and vote. And that is democracy. I mean, some problems we've had in California over the years have been because people have stayed at home and then they complain about the outcome. But you have to be an active participant in this democracy. There are other ways too. I mean, I'm always looking for volunteers to help. I need to raise a great deal of money. I have raised $400,000, but I need to raise probably at least another $250,000 before the March primary, and that's a great deal. And it's very tough to ask people for money because I understand that we are either still in a recession or barely starting to come out of it, and I know the value of money. And so I always really appreciate it when people can help me. Of course, I always appreciate hugs too, because I love people. And but there are many ways that people can be of help to me, whether they live in Santa Clara or whether they live in San Mateo or whether they live in Chicago or New York. There are lots of ways because I really do care, and I'm really running for the state senate because we need people who care about people and want to help people have better lives and to see that California is a better place, because we all know right now that there have been so many things going on that create instability, and we need people who are normal human beings who can represent us in the legislature and do a good job and work hard.
Well, again, you have our support. I will be there to celebrate your victory. And since you said you accept hugs, I will close by hugging you.
Thank you. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Παρακαλώ.